My name is Catherine Chatfield and I'm the editor of Women's Day. With me today is the founder of performance marketing agency Meaningful, Jemima Simpson Smith, and the MD of design and innovation company AKQA Australia, Justine Leong. Together, we'll be unpacking the career journeys, challenges, and leadership lessons that have shaped where they are today and what the next generation of leaders can learn from their experiences. Welcome, both of you. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you.
So let's kick off with career growth, how you started, where you came from. How do you define success, sort of where you are now in your journey and where you started?
One of the things that I've always found has been a sort of metric for my career growth and what I've wanted to do throughout my journey is always associate myself with great people. And so I've always looked for inspirational leaders, a boss that can challenge me, bring out the best in me, a team that I think has always felt like they are loyal and have my back and can also, I think, have really honest conversations with me. Yeah. So if I look at the journey I've been on, I've always picked and surrounded myself with people that champion me in a way that bring out the best in me. And so it's not necessarily the job title or the step that I've chased. I've almost gravitated to the people around me through that journey and how I've got here today.
And Jemima, you've had kind of a very quick ascent. I think you started as a digital exec in 2019. Is that right?
Yeah, I was really young into the industry. Actually, I got my first job when I was 19, which it's a really full-on industry. Like, it's a very overwhelming space. And I think for me, early on, I got some career advice, which was just focus on what you can control, which is essentially how much effort you put in. So for me, it wasn't like all the other variables didn't matter. I just wanted to focus on the effort that I put in.
It's kind of a loaded question talking about women, I think, in the industry. I mean, there's many of us and, you know, we probably make up probably the majority proportion, I would suggest, in the industry. But I guess with that comes some pressure. I know I certainly feel that sometimes we're expected to be ambitious, resilient, compassionate, nice in inverted commas. Have you ever experienced tension between those characteristics, what's expected of you and how you navigate them?
I found in my 20s, it was a very complex space to navigate as a woman. I think there's a lot of expectation of what women should be and how they should behave. And I think I had a lot of internal conflict of who do I be in what work environment. And it did sort of put a lot of pressure on the type of person I showed up as in work and then what people thought of me as well. I can remember 360 performance reviews where certain descriptive words were used in my reviews that I think in the right context are completely different meanings as a woman and the way that we operate. I think what is important is that women can be all facets of their personality in the workplace. I think you can be ambitious, but warm and caring. You can be driven, but you can be collaborative and inclusive. And you can be a person and a leader that can care for people, but also be strong. And I think you can use femininity not in a soft skill and way. You can use it as a strength to your power.
Definitely. And I think the more women that there are in those leadership positions, the easier it is to say we can do all of that. And, you know, especially for people coming up through their career, to see other women in those leadership positions and say, oh, that's okay, I can do that too.
Absolutely. And I think there were less role models back when I was your age and growing up and being in the industry. And I'm so grateful for the people that have paved the way before me as well. And it's for me, I'm also trying to now behave in certain ways and show up in certain ways so that people within the industry can see it's okay to be a woman and be all the multifaceted, wonderful, complex ways that we are as women. And I think that is such a strength for us because we are so complex and what we bring to our jobs and our worlds in the work environment, it's interesting because of who we are as well.
I think just we're always brought up as women to be likable and to be, you know, all the things that is kind of nice. And at the end of the day, like there's always going to be those expectations, I think, just in a broader sense on people, but humans are like naturally not going to be likable every day and resilient every day. It's not possible. So think your expectations of yourself define your happiness more than like the outcomes of your world. So choosing what expectations you want to put on yourself is really important too. If I try and be likable and resilient every day, I'm going to be disappointed because it's not possible.
Can you, both of you, think about a moment or a project or sort of something in your career that has really taught you a lot about leadership and what you learnt from that and how you found your way through it?
I think a big moment for me with like, I guess, stepping into leadership was obviously going from employee to owning my own business. And I remember I won this big client and everything was on me, like the strategy, what we proposed to them, how we wanted to structure the whole, arrangement. And I remember thinking like, you don't have to stick within the line items that you've always known of other agency or like, how we sell things in. And it was about like, I could actually tell them what I thought was best for their business, like sell them in the value of what we can do, but also what I think they should do that's separate from us that's actually going to make an impact. So that's been something I've tried to carry through with everything I'm doing at Meaningful is how much value can you add to this client's life and how much of an impact can you make with that?
I think if I look back to one of the moments in my career that I really had to step up and be a leader was actually the first time I joined the advertising industry and when I made that transition from production into advertising. And I walked into what was a big global airline pitch out of an agency in Singapore. And I had no idea how agencies ran. I obviously had a bank of experience from my previous sort of career and life, but there's nuances in agency from a cultural perspective, from a ways of working perspective. And when you go into something with a complete fresh perspective and point of view on something, it's actually quite liberating to bring in what you can add based on your difference of perspective and diversity of experience that can add something new to the process. So I think that was a moment for me where I always wanted to stay true to having a strong point of view, even if it's different from what has been done in the past, because things and change and progress happens when people are constantly pushing forward as well.
But people early in their career who are coming into the media and marketing industry, what do you think people might be misunderstanding when they first come in? Are there things that you remember being surprised by or that have changed as you've come along further in your career?
If I was to go back and give myself some advice when I first joined the career of this industry we're in, it would be that we're in a business of relationships, as I said before, but at the end of the day, you can have like the best campaign idea or you can have the best strategy, but if you can't communicate it well, then it's not going to land. So if I was to, give myself some advice or some young people some advice, it'd be focusing on, communicating and learning how to do that well. And I guess more of a practical tip would be showing interest and genuine curiosity in what people are doing and how you can help them. And I think if you show up every day to work and you're thinking like, what can I learn from my boss or my colleague or my clients and how can I, make their lives better? That's a great way to go about, excelling in your career.
Yeah, it's great advice.
I also looked back on my 20s and what did I do and what advice would I have given myself back then? And I sort of looked at the pattern and behaviors of how people think that growing a career should come from promotions and finding the next best thing. And I think there is a tendency for younger people to often jump ship quickly. I think the grass can seem greener on the other side. And I think there is a lot of excitement in shiny new things sometimes. But if I gave myself advice 20 years ago, I'm giving away my age, but I do think I would say that there is a lot to be learnt in being still and being patient to see things through. Yeah, just be still and have the world around you be what is constantly shifting and is different. And we're in a world that is actually going through so much change at the moment. So you can be a constant in that change.
Yeah, that's great advice. And one of the questions here is about what winning looks like for you right now. So your career, as a woman. But I think on the other side of that is sort of off the back of that, what you're saying is actually understanding that nothing comes easy. It's that sometimes there's some failing before you get to the winning.
Yeah.
Is that something you've both experienced? And then I guess, what does the winning look like now you've come through that?
For me, like winning, I've thought about this a lot this year because I think as women, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves and we always want, to excel and do well. So for me, winning is about enjoying what I do, not just trying to get to the next award or the next client or, the next thing. It's instead, do I enjoy what I do? And to me, that's winning.
Winning for me is also an endpoint. And I think it's how do you actually get a sense of accomplishment and success along the way to what you want that end goal to be. And I think if you've won, you've almost achieved what you needed to achieve. So I think it's winning as an endpoint that you always want to have almost as a goal and kind of move towards. And I think that feeling of accomplishment comes in ways that you actually want to, or for me, want to leave something in a better place than when you first experienced it or sort of first started something. And I think that comes all the way through from dealing with and leading people. If you can grow someone's career or see how they've transformed from when you first started working with them to when they leave a business or move on to something else. When we work with clients and seeing that transformation as they go through working with you as a partner and as an agency, whatever your objectives are, if you can take them on a journey to some sort of success or accomplishment, I think that's a really wonderful way to feel like you're on that end game of what winning is. I mean, the agency I'm working in at the moment is we're on a big transformation and a big turnaround. And so it's how do we constantly go, what is the next thing around how we're going to sort of succeed and be a better place for people to work and the work that we're doing.
Thinking about the future, what excites you both most, I suppose, about your individual careers, but also as a whole and where women in the industry are sitting now and are going to be sitting in 10 or 20 years' time?
Yeah, I think this is why I'm very privileged to work at AKQA and the agency that I work with, because we're always seeking to find new value for our clients' business on the edge of imagination and technology. And to be on the edge of something that doesn't yet exist, or you have to think about what's next, is an exciting place to be, because you have to be very comfortable with the unknown and the uncertainty. I think embracing the uncomfortableness of the industry and the future is actually going to be what makes us a really formidable industry, and think about what's possible.
It's a really exciting time because there's also this big shift at the moment, obviously, with like everything happening with AI and the technology that we're able to use, that we have an opportunity now to bridge what clients want and need a bit closer to what we can actually offer at a shorter time period. So for me, one of my first hires was like a full-time AI and automation specialist in the business, because just saw this opportunity that a lot of the time some, traditional agencies aren't going to take, where how can we add more value? How can we do it faster and more cost effective than ever before for clients? So that's a really exciting space to play in, where we can actually innovate and make these things that are solving those problems for clients a lot quicker than, what we could even 5 years ago. So yeah, that's exciting part for me.
And for women in general, as sort of a young female coming up, I love your point that you don't want to be known as a female leader, but as a leader. But where do you see that leading for you, and perhaps people in your agency coming up behind you?
Anyone has an opportunity now to make an impact and splash. Like, you've seen so many people overnight go from, working in a cafe to creating this amazing app because they learned how to vibe code. So there's just so much opportunity out there. And I think if you look for it, you'll find it. And especially for women, like, it's not Mad Men days anymore, right? So there's so much opportunity out there. And if you look for it, you will find that.
Thank you so much both for coming. It's a great conversation. I think it's so valid to think about being leaders, like you said, not just women leaders, but leaders, and what people can learn from that. And I think that's a really important point to remember. Thanks so much for watching the Superwoman series presented by Our Media and B&T.